So, looking forward to kind of the rest of the season. Just because you lost the Florida State game and lost in pretty embarrassing fashion does not technically mean anything. This schedule is still fully in front of you. The season is still fully in front of you. Florida State not being ranked in the preseason has more to do with the fact that Florida State went 2-10 last season than it does Florida State being poor, right? Or being a bad team. This is a situation where Florida State spent a lot of money this offseason. They revamped both their offense and defensive line. They revamped both coordinators, new quarterback. I think Florida State's going to be much better than people potentially anticipated. And I think that 2-10 is going to be kind of seen as a fluke. I think Florida State's going to compete at the top of the ACC, at least if what they put on the field on Saturday is any indication. I think they're going to compete near the top of the ACC, and I think that Florida State's going to end up being a very good team. Which means that if Florida State ends up being a very good team, that Alabama really, they've lost a game, so the margin for error is now much smaller, but none of the goals you set are away from you, right? So what does that mean? That means a few things. First thing it means, you got to clean up the defense. You've got to really look at the defense and figure out what went wrong and fix it in a hurry. And when I say fix it in a hurry, I mean anything and everything, including different starters, right? I don't think that just because a guy like Nikhai Hill-Green comes over from Colorado, if he is not able to fill gaps from an off-ball linebacker position and be in position to make tackles, if Deontay Lawson is still recovering from that knee injury and is not going to be at playing speed, put in the freshman. Put in the next guys on the depth chart. Let them earn their spot, right? Make the other guys realize, hey, just because you're planned to be a starter, right? Just because you're a captain in Deontay Lawson, just because you came over from Colorado and are a perceived starter in Nikhai Hill-Green, you got to prove that you're worth having this starting spot. I don't care what you are. Like, at the end of the day, if you're going to play that poorly, you now have to prove to me that you are worth having the starting spot, because it currently does not feel like they are, right? So from the defensive standpoint, that's what I want to see, right? I want to see them taking some level of accountability of, we have to fix this, right? We cannot, if we continue to put this defense out on the field, Alabama will go 7-5, 8-4 this year, right? If they do not fix this defense in a hurry, Alabama will look abysmal this entire season. Now, again, I still have some hope because of what I saw last season from Kane Wommack's defense. I saw his defense get better. So I believe that he can do it. But now he's got to prove that he can, right? I believe that he can, but can he, right? Prove that he can do it, and maybe you have a chance, right? However, currently the way it sits, you're going to be on the chopping block very soon, because this fan base is not going to stand for what they saw on Saturday. It was weak play. It was not Alabama football. It was just abysmal defense, and you've got to fix it in a hurry. On the offensive side of the football, there's a few things that you have to fix. One, you got to get Ty Simpson more comfortable with getting rid of the ball quickly. I know that Kalen DeBoer kind of talked about it in his post-game press conference when he was asked about Ty Simpson and asked, like, what do you think about his first start on the road? He was like, sometimes Ty's just going to have to rip it. It really sounded like he was upset that Ty was holding onto the football, and he thought that Ty was just holding onto the ball a little too long. He felt that it really felt like more Ty was, timid with, hey, you can make this throw, just gun it, right? I think Ty was a little more concerned about not making the back-breaking play. He didn't want to make the interception if he just, slightly missed through it. So Ty was holding onto that ball a little too long. When you had the offensive line that was playing, quite frankly, as poorly as it was, you do have to have a quarterback that's just a little bit more willing just to rip it. So that is something you're going to have to get more comfortable with from the quarterback position. Just whatever it takes to get Ty Simpson more comfortable with, hey buddy, we got your back. If you make an interception, you make an interception. But, like, in order for our offense to succeed, when you see XYZ, just rip it, right? That's what you've got to do with him. You've got to get him ready and get him comfortable to just be able to let it loose, because that's something that you definitely was hurting you, because it was hurting you from a passing perspective. Obviously, we're just waiting too long. People were either, going from uncovered to covered, or you were waiting too long to make the throw. There were a couple of throws that were behind people or a little low, right? You've just got to convince him that, hey, whatever it is, you just got to go for it. On the receiving core, obviously, I know that Ryan Williams is currently in concussion protocol, but you need to see what it's going to take to get his mojo back and get him back to where he's comfortable catching the football. That amount of drops and is not making Ty Simpson any better. That amount of drops is not making your life any easier, right? So that when you're talking about the offensive side of the football, I thought that what you've got to do is you've got to make Ryan Williams and these guys, feel more comfortable catching the football, whatever it is, right? Is it more drills with the quarterback? Is it, whatever it is, just Ryan Williams was completely out of sync. And I think you've got to get those guys more prepared where if they're catching the ball from Ty Simpson, they are, making your quarterback's life much easier. From the coaching staff on that offensive side, you can't go away from the run, right? Just because you're not getting the explosives that you want to get in the running game or that you want to have in your offense, you have to just trust that if you're getting positive yards and able to keep continually moving the football, you have to stick with what's working. Because running the football in that first drive and mixing in the run and the pass was phenomenal, and then you went away from it and the offense completely sputtered. You have to trust that at the end of the day, your offensive line is going to get you the gaps, get you the run fits, and your running backs are going to hit those holes and have you ready to, get a few yards to set up easier passing downs, right? Passing on 3rd and 10 is way different than passing on 2nd and 4, right? Much more wide open playbook when you have some downs to work with versus when you have to have certain routes that are going to take longer to develop. Your line's going to have to hold for longer, etc. Right? So just being able to run the football consistently is something you were able to do early in this game and then just went away from immediately. You've got to continue to be better about that. Like I said, those are your big ones. From a special teams perspective, know what your guys are capable of, right? I thought the first kick from 53 yards, a lot of people were like, why did you put the guy out there for 53 yards? Know what his range is. It looked like a perfect kick. His accuracy was dead on. If he doesn't have the leg from 53, don't send him out there from 53, right? At the end of the day, like that just seems like mismanagement from the coaching standpoint, right? It seems like you just aren't sure what your guy is fully capable of if you're sending a kicker out there from 53 yards and he's 4 yards short, right? If he doesn't have the leg, he doesn't have the leg. Do not send him out there. It was a good kick. It's not like he pulled it or something, right? The kicker hit it dead on, dead straight. Like if he doesn't have the leg, don't send him out there. The 40-yarder, he nailed it, right? So I would be concerned a little bit about from a coaching standpoint. Just know what your guys are capable of, and don't ask of them something that they're not capable. Because I thought the kick was completely fine, and it was short, right? There's no other way to talk about it. The last thing that I want to see, and it's something that we had issues with the end of Nick Saban's tenure as well as last season, but it has to get better, is penalties in timely positions. And what I mean by that is your Tim Smith intentional or roughing the passer penalty, or intentional roughness penalty. Sorry. He gives an extra 15 yards because he hits him late, and that continues a possession, right? You were going to get off the field, it continues a possession. It feels like that happened a couple of times. Alabama ended up being called for 8 penalties for 70 yards compared to Florida State only being called for 4 penalties for 40 yards. In my mind, that was a pretty substantial backbreaker in this game because there were a couple of moments where it felt like momentum shifted because you were unable to get off the field on 3rd down or get off, you had them in a 2nd and long position. All of a sudden you get a penalty. You shorten the field for them, right? It really felt like you were able to make a couple of okay big plays, and then all of a sudden you lost them immediately because of the penalty, right? So those are the things that I think from a coaching perspective, you have to drill into these guys over and over and over again about being smarter, because those type of things, when you're when you have the margin for error of you're already down and you're trying to make the plays to make yourself better and make yourself ready to be able to potentially win this game, if you have that penalty, it's going to be such a backbreaker that there's no way to recover from it. So that's what I have to say about this game. Like I said, do I think that the season is still in front of these guys? Yes. Your margin for error just got a ton smaller and it became substantially more difficult. However, Alabama still has the capability of winning a lot of games. So, of course, I will be watching those games. I will break down the Louisiana Monroe game and what I want to see changed and, potentially, what we need to be on the lookout for this first game in Bryant-Denny Stadium coming up. So that episode will come out on Thursday. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, throw them down at the bottom. I do read all of them and try to reply to as many as possible. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.